The 70s were a wild time. People used CB radios to talk to complete strangers, calling themselves names like Rubber Duck. You could find ashtrays in doctors' waiting rooms, right next to the children's magazines. And if you were listening to your favorite song on the radio, chances are it got interrupted mid-chorus by that clunky ka-chank sound. Yep, that was the 1970s. These are 7 memories from that era. And if you lived through it, you'll know exactly what we've lost. Every car had that long antenna whipping in the wind and a CB radio crackling with voices from the highway. You weren't alone on the road. You were part of a family of strangers looking out for each other, sharing information and watching each other's backs across hundreds of miles of American highway. Your dad would flip on that CB and immediately know where the speed traps were, which truck stops had the best coffee, and if there was black ice ahead. Truckers became heroes sharing road conditions, while suburban mums warned about school zones and construction zones. Everyone had a handle, and people knew you by your voice, not your face. Kids learned a whole new language sitting in the back seat. Smoky meant police, bear in the air was a helicopter, and putting the hammer down meant stepping on the gas. The CB turned every family car into mission control for the American highway, connecting strangers through shared travel and mutual assistance. Hardware stores couldn't keep CB equipment on the shelves. Families installed base stations at home so they could talk to travelers passing through town. The kitchen table became command central, where Mom monitored Channel 19 while cooking dinner, ready to help lost drivers find the interstate or warn about weather conditions. That CB created real community between people who never met face to face, but cared enough to share information that kept everyone safer. Truckers would check on families during snowstorms, and commuters would relay messages between drivers separated by hundreds of miles of highway. Now we've got GPS telling us every turn, but we've lost that human connection. No more strangers checking if you made it through the storm safely. No more truckers sharing which diners had the best pie. We traded community for convenience and ended up more isolated than ever, staring at screens instead of talking to the people traveling the same roads. Walk into any doctor's office in 1975 and you'd see ashtrays sitting right next to the children's magazines. Adults were trusted to make their own decisions without the government treating them like children who couldn't think for themselves. Pregnant women sat in the obstetrics waiting room smoking while reading parenting books. Nobody panicked. Nobody called security. The doctor might mention cutting back, but the choice was yours to make. That was called personal responsibility. Airplane passengers would light up the moment that seatbelt sign went off. The smoking section was separated from non-smoking by about 3 feet of hope and prayer, but families sat wherever they wanted without demanding everyone else change their legal behavior. Even pediatricians had ashtrays in their waiting rooms because adults were adults, and children learned that grown-ups sometimes did grown-up things they couldn't understand yet. The world didn't revolve around making everything safe for everybody all the time. Cigarette vending machines stood in grocery stores and hotel lobbies, selling tobacco to anyone with correct change. Parents sent children to corner stores to buy cigarettes with handwritten notes, and store owners filled the requests without questioning parental authority. Now smoking has been so demonized that former smokers hide their past like they're recovering from heroin. We've created a society where personal choice gets steamrolled by collective hysteria. Back then, people minded their own business and let others mind theirs. Nothing taught patience quite like 8-track tapes. You'd be singing along to Hotel California, and right in the middle of the guitar solo, ka-chank, the stupid thing would switch tracks and kill the moment. You didn't throw a tantrum. You waited for the song to come back around and kept singing. Every family had a collection of those chunky cartridges scattered around the car, and half of them were eaten by the player. Dad would pull over, pop the hood of that 8-track, and try to wind the tape back in with a pencil while you kids learned that sometimes things break and you fix them instead of throwing them away. Car trips meant negotiating which 8-track to play, and once it was in, you listened to the whole thing. No skipping tracks, no shuffling, You heard the album the way the artist intended, interruptions and all. Families actually agreed on music because you had to. Record stores had walls of 8 tracks that felt substantial in your hands. When you bought Fleetwood Mac's Rumours, it was an investment. You were committed to those songs for months, learning every lyric, every guitar lick, even the spots where the track would switch mid-song. The chunky cartridges represented commitment to music in a way that streaming never could. You played albums from beginning to end because skipping around wasn't practical with mechanical technology that required patience and attention to operate properly. Today's kids stream a billion songs but connect with none of them. Everything's disposable when it's free. We had fewer choices but deeper relationships with our music. Those mechanical ka-chunks became part of the song, part of the memory, part of growing up when patience was still a virtue. At midnight, the Star-Spangled Banner would play over a waving American flag, and then television went silent until morning. Dead air. Nothing. Television actually went to sleep, and so did families. Kids learned that entertainment had limits. When the TV signed off, you talked to your parents, read a book, or just went to bed at a reasonable hour. No endless scrolling. No 3 a.m. Netflix binges, just natural rhythms that let families be families. The whole country watched the same 3 shows at the same time. Monday morning at work, everyone discussed what happened on All in the Family or The Waltons because we all saw it together. Shared experiences built common culture instead of dividing us into a million separate streaming bubbles. That test pattern with the high-pitched whine became the sound of nighttime. If you were still awake to see it, you knew you should probably get some sleep. The TV wasn't your babysitter. It was a guest in your living room that knew when to leave. Emergency broadcasts would break in with civil defense tests, reminding everyone that the world was bigger than entertainment. We lived through the Cold War with dignity instead of hiding from reality behind endless distractions that never stop. Television had natural stopping points that brought families together for conversation, reading, and actual rest. The signing off ritual marked the end of community time and the beginning of family time, creating boundaries that made both more meaningful. Now, television never sleeps, and neither do we. Families scatter to different screens showing different content, and we wonder why nobody talks anymore. We traded those peaceful midnight sign-offs for chaos that never ends. Every stylish home had thick, luxurious shag carpet surrounding the toilet and bathtub. Your mom was proud of that avocado green carpet that made the bathroom feel like a living room instead of a medical facility. It required special cleaning products and professional carpet cleaners who knew how to handle bathroom situations. But families weren't afraid of a little maintenance if it meant having a beautiful home. Taking care of nice things was part of being an adult. The deep pile felt amazing on bare feet during those cold winter mornings. Your bathroom wasn't just functional, it was comfortable, welcoming, a place where you wanted to spend time getting ready for your day. Harvest gold, avocado green, burnt orange, colors that made statements instead of playing it safe with boring beige. Interior designers promoted bathroom carpeting as sophisticated luxury, and families saved up to install it properly. The carpet showed you cared about your home, that you weren't settling for basic when you could have beautiful. Homeowners understood that beauty required work, but they were willing to put in the effort because creating a comfortable home mattered more than avoiding maintenance. The carpet represented investment in family life and domestic happiness. Now bathrooms are sterile, cold tile floors that prioritize easy cleaning over comfort. We've become so terrified of germs and maintenance that we've eliminated beauty from our daily lives. Everything's designed for minimum effort instead of maximum joy. That carpet represented optimism about family life. The belief that your home deserved investment, that comfort mattered more than convenience, and that a little extra work was worth it if the result made your family happier. Saturday night entertainment meant gathering around a fondue pot with special little forks, cooking your own dinner while actually talking to the people across from you. No phones, no distractions, just friends and family sharing hot oil, melted cheese, and genuine conversation. Your mum would spend all day preparing for fondue night, cutting bread into perfect cubes, arranging vegetables, making sure the chocolate was ready for dessert. It was an event, not just another meal grabbed between activities. Families made time for each other because relationships mattered more than schedules. The cooking process demanded attention. You couldn't mindlessly scroll through your phone while managing a piece of beef in bubbling oil. Everyone participated, everyone talked, everyone shared the same experience at the same pace. Kids learned patience waiting their turn at the pot. Adults learned to slow down and enjoy the process instead of rushing through dinner to get to the next thing. Fondue parties could last for hours because nobody was in a hurry to get somewhere else. The special equipment, those cute little forks, the fancy pot, the various sauces, showed that regular people were willing to invest in experiences that brought families together. Entertaining at home mattered because relationships mattered. Fondue parties created memories through shared activity that required cooperation, attention, and genuine interaction. The potential for minor disasters, dropped food, splashed oil, burned tongues, became part of the fun that bonded people through common adventure. Now we grab takeout and eat while staring at screens, calling it family time if we're all in the same room consuming different content. We've traded the warm chaos of fondue night for the cold efficiency of individual entertainment that connects nobody to anything. The summer of 1973 taught Americans what real hardship looked like, and people didn't riot in the streets or blame their neighbors. They grabbed lawn chairs, packed snacks, and turned gas lines into neighborhood gatherings where strangers became friends. Your dad would wake up at 5 a.m. to get in line at the Texaco station, bringing the morning paper and a thermos of coffee for what might be a 4-hour wait. Kids learned math, calculating whether the family car qualified for gas on odd or even days based on the license plate number. Neighbors carpooled without being asked. Families combined shopping trips to save every precious gallon. People understood that this was bigger than their personal convenience. This was America learning that sometimes you have to wait, sometimes you have to sacrifice, and sometimes you pull together instead of falling apart. The crisis created heroes out of ordinary people. The gas station attendant became a general managing resources for his community. The guy with the CB radio shared information about which stations still had fuel. Families helped each other because that's what Americans did when times got tough. Those gas lines taught patience, planning, and community cooperation. You learned to appreciate what you had instead of demanding more. You discovered that your neighbors were good people facing the same challenges, and together you could handle whatever came your way. People brought card games, crossword puzzles, and conversation to pass the time. Children played between cars, while parents watched and talked with other families facing the same situation. The shared experience created bonds that lasted long after the gas crisis ended. Now Americans line up at Starbucks paying $5 for coffee while complaining about gas prices that would have seemed like paradise to your parents waiting in those 1973 lines. We've lost the ability to sacrifice for anything, to wait for anything, or to pull together when times get hard. Anyway, that's it for the video, folks. Bye.